Welcome to another episode of Startup Stories, the monthly event that aims to motivate and challenge you through inspiring stories from entrepreneurs themselves. We chat with them about their journey, challenges, and experiences. My name is Rachel, and I'm the host of Startup Stories. Today, we're back in Leuven in Studio Start in the Naamse Straat. This is the place for budding entrepreneurs to get help and information. We're joined by a live audience from whom we'll be taking questions at the end. And for those of you following online, streaming on Facebook, you can put your questions in the chat and we'll address them at the end. Today, later on, a little bit in a few minutes, he's in traffic, but I will also be joined by Mattias Losoli, founder of Talk to See. Mattias discovered his passion for entrepreneurship during his civil engineering studies. In 2018, he was selected CEO for 1 month at the Adecco Group. He gave his own TEDx talk titled Discovering Your Passion, Very Simple. And 3 years ago, he founded the startup Talk to See, where he helps young, driven professionals reach their maximum potential. His life mission is to inspire people to become the best version of themselves. And our second speaker sitting here next to me is not an entrepreneur, but an expert from the funding side. I'm joined by Yanis Fares, Portfolio Success Manager at BeAngels. Yanis has helped over 15 startups get funding. His aim is to give founders and their teams an unfair advantage. By having support from the entire community, he has the opportunity to connect the dots accurately, link up entities struggling or facing the same problems. He is responsible for creating bonds between companies, expanding relationships internationally, helping them to benefit from BeAngels' services, to work through their challenges and anticipate the future. Welcome, Yanis. Hi. Oh, very happy you're here. So this promises to be quite an interesting chat with a few different perspectives than we normally have. So let's get to know our speaker at the moment a little bit more. Yanis, can you tell us more about your experience, specifically then on the investment side?
Yeah, so I'm the portfolio success manager of BeAngels. So what is BeAngels? We are the largest business angels network in Belgium. So what we aim to do is actually to matchmake private investors with high potential entrepreneurs. And for the past 20 years, we've developed many SPVs. So that's special purpose vehicle. So that means that we pull investors in order to answer the financial need of those entrepreneurs.
Cool. And what has your role been specifically in that?
Specifically, so I'm more related to the academic ecosystem. So I'm trying to launch a new vehicle in order to answer the financial need of student entrepreneurs. But I'm also the portfolio manager. So like you said before, I try to give an unfair advantage to the community of entrepreneurs of BeAngels by creating the startup package. What is the startup package? It's a package reuniting more than 15 discounted services from Stripe, HubSpot, Amazon in order to tackle every issues in the different development phases of the startups and scale-ups of the portfolio.
Okay, and talking about those issues, what are like the most common challenges that you've seen amongst the companies that, you've been supporting and helping?
Well, there are so many different challenges. It depends. It can be related to the product, to the team as well, to the market itself. So we strive to actually give solutions on the day-to-day operations, but also we try to communicate as much as possible with the management team to find an energy in order really to create a collective intelligence as a board, as a direction committee, and so on. But it can be, for example, HR problems. For example, how do you keep your talents in the team? It can be related to the product itself. Do you need a pivot? Do you need actually to change the market? Do you need more defense, or do you need more maybe a more robust or more strength on the IP? So there are so many different challenges, and we try to find solutions, and everyone.
Okay, cool. I know we have a lot of students in our audience listening live or later. And I can imagine some of them are thinking, oh, really interesting, somebody on the investment side. What are like the basic things that you need to have, let's say, to consider an idea or an entrepreneur serious?
The first thing of all is the human. So we invest in a team. We invest in an energy that we're sure that we can work with. So, for example, if you have a bad idea or the product is not finished, that's not a problem. We can work on that. But if it's too hard to communicate and to work as a team with somebody who's driving the project, that is sometimes really a big issue. So we'll say that first of all, the human is the priority. Then we'll deep dive into the market to see if the market is responsive. Do we have a product that can be launched on the market? Can we create more value on it? Sorry. Do we have enough tangible and intangible resources to make it a success story? And then so on, tackle issues by issue.
Okay, that's very interesting. So it's really much an entrepreneur character that you're really looking at, and what makes that character?
Well, we are aiming at funding bold funders. That means people who are not shy in the room, that can take the decision when it needs to be taken. Um, People who can listen to a board, so to a business angels investing into the company. As I mentioned, this is a matchmaking, so it's kind of a relationship, like kind of a marriage or something. If the energy is not circulating in a good way, well, it can be some friction, and of course, it can hand to a dispute or to some issues. So really, we are really working with people who can be bold and can be like full time on the project and really wants to make it happen, to make it really good stuff.
Okay, good, understood. And working with a lot of young people, students, and young entrepreneurs, what is it that you think that I say with um, commas, to say, like, what should we be doing as a community or town or country, whatever, to encourage and help more young people to start their own business and to dare to go out there?
It's an excellent question. Uh, Allow me maybe to answer it on different level. I guess that in the society there is something it's called entrepreneurship mind, and is to be taken into discussion, for example, with your family, with your colleagues, with your friends. It's based on curiosity. At some point, if you're curious about new ideas, that you want to create something, well, don't hesitate to do so. So basically, that's more the society side. On the political side, there are so many different things growing up and popping up on the market. So public institutions really understood that there is something to do, and they are unblocking funds and subsidies and grants in order actually to provide funds and an entire ecosystem, backing up incubators, acceleration program. Um, Here we are at the Kickstart program. So I guess that 20 years ago, such initiatives were created. So politically, something's changing. We are really happy to see that because Belgium has something to say on the European map, I'll say, and our neighbors are evolving really fast. So basically, I was mentioning Elevate, so this is actually a vehicle that will fund projects coming from Luxembourg, France, and also Belgium. And we can see that there are some tractions, there are so many differences based on the ecosystem itself, and Belgium needs to catch up.
Okay, in what way? What are our neighboring countries doing that we're not doing?
I'll say that maybe more on the educational aspect of it. Maybe that there are some special programs in the university, in the schools, in the Hogeschool uh, that maybe needs to put an emphasis on the entrepreneur mind. That needs to push more programs toward the fact that maybe student entrepreneurs need to get all the assets and all the tools to create their own startup after, for example, their studies or after their master or something. And that's something that we can see in the UK, in America as well. And there is not as much as backup as in Belgium than in the other countries. But it's evolving. We can see that there are many events. There is the Slush festival happening soon here in Leuven. So it's evolving. It's really great to see that people are moving, and we are all moving to actually improve the standard of the entrepreneurship here in Belgium. So that's really great.
Okay, good to know. And as an investment expert, I am also interested to know, what do you often see with startups looking for their first funding? Are there things you often, similarities or?
Well, the first funding, it's really specific to the startup itself. For example, the first funding can happen after maybe 3 to 5 years of experiment of creating the value. So just to give you a clear example, there will be a huge difference between a student entrepreneur looking for funds the first time and maybe a couple of founders, maybe 45 years old that already have expertise, backgrounds check on their market they want to evolve in, and they will prepare the first funding in such different ways, right? So for the student entrepreneurs, there is always something about the compliance, about the maturity. The fact that you're raising funds is also, the fact that you're raising funds, there is a direct link with the investors and the different shareholders of your company. So that means that you have rights, but you also have homeworks, and that's not really well understood sometimes. And that's what we do at BeAngels. It's to actually put a frame on the collaboration to help out those young entrepreneurs to understand that this is the real world. You need to also give back to the investors. You need to also check what are the different compliance efforts that need to be done regarding the law, regarding the I say the yeah the public yeah regarding the law, but also the best practice. Sorry, so the practice on the market needs to be respected. So there are so many different issues. For example, older older founders sometimes have crazy crazy thoughts. I'll say about the valuations. Maybe they worked a lot. They sometimes come to the angel saying that yeah, this is a valuation that's maybe higher than the expectations on the business angels aspect of it. So sometimes we need to put that back on the ground and just say that this is not valuation from the Silicon Valley. We are still in Belgium, so this is completely not related to their aspect of it, but or their perspective, but it's more related to the economy or the market itself. And other issues, well, the list is quite long. Sometimes it's just the preparation. The idea is perfect. The founders are really great. We have a lot of different assets, competencies, and the pitch is going terribly. And sometimes it can be a real bad experience for those entrepreneurs. At BeAngels, we are always, tackling those issues in a benevolent way. So that means that we really want to help out. It doesn't matter if you didn't do your pitch well, there's other chances, and of course we can help you out by redirecting you to another actor or just to give you feedbacks and maybe to work on that few months in order for you to come back the angels in the following months. So we try to actually put the standard higher on the market, and it's based on so many different problems, so many different solutions that we need to provide as well. So this is a continuous improvement.
Okay, cool. And how many of the startups that you help to invest go on to be successful? And how many fail actually?
That's a great question. So on my personal view, so we've launched the vehicles especially dedicated for student entrepreneurs for the past 7 years. So this is the fifth going on, Elevate. We started in 2016 in Liège. It was a prototype, right? And today we have funded more than 25 companies with a collaboration based on 8 incubators, based in Belgium, but also in France and in Luxembourg. And on those 25, we have maybe 4 bankruptcy, and the rest is still active, and we've exited 3 of them.
Wow, that's pretty good numbers, I think, for startups,
No, it's
no?
really nice, and we're really working hard in order to actually improve this rate of survival. It means that after all the efforts, after 5 to 7 years, we try to get at least 80% of our startups still active.
And have you seen some commonalities in the startups that failed?
Well, of course, there are some. I'll say that the first prototypes in 2016 was just that the entrepreneurs were a bit without experience and they didn't have the backup that we can provide today. And of course, there are other factors. For example, the macro environmental, like the war in Ukraine or the post-COVID effect, was a terrible impact on our market. basically because a lot of different funding actors, they deserted this pre-seed phase, and it's completely normal. Investors and business angels or VCs were more scared about this really risky phase, and they took their cash back, or they took the capital in order to secure the lines that were already active. So that's when we saw an opportunity to create Elevate and to actually answer the funding need in this phase particularly. So yeah, there are so many different ways and different reasons to fail, and yeah, we try to actually give backup and support in order to do that in the best way possible.
Yeah. And so you've already said there's a little bit difference in how startups prepare themselves for funding, let's say just based on age and experience, let's say. Are there also differences that you're seeing between different regions in Europe, for example, or specific industries, and perhaps like also the amount of investment or requests?
Yeah, I'll answer in two ways. I mean, the question is twofold, so I'll first go on the region aspect of the question. Of course, there are so many differences based on the culture, based on on the ecosystem itself. For example, in the north side of the country, you can see that the entrepreneurs are, I'll say, way more direct. They have deeper knowledge on the market. They are well prepared. That's something that really inspiring us, actually for the rest of the country to catch up. So it's really nice to see that people are really mature on this side. In Luxembourg, it's really different, for example, because the ecosystem is a bit younger. And in Wallonia, it started to level up as well. So, of course, based on the region, we have so many differences. And based on the market, that's the second aspect of the questions, it's also something completely different. For example, the south side of the country has shown that there's a lot of different projects emerging on the biotech. So there are so many different biotech projects coming up from Liège, Namur, Charleroi also. And that's completely a different aspect of startup, a different, specific profile of startup, because they really are cash incentives. They really need a lot of cash to certify their product. They need the patents. For example, the biotech needs to be approved by the EU. They need a lot of different efforts, and it's way more cash intensive. Sorry. So they are preparing a lot of different means in order to fundraise, to raise different funds, and it's completely different from, I'll say, an entrepreneur who is involved in Brussels trying to create a SaaS or a platform or something like that. When it's digital, it's really easy to make an MVP, and you can directly confront it to the reality, to the market. So I'll say that the entrance barriers are completely different, and it's directly related to the aspect of funding, to the aspect of the MVP, to the aspect of the different founders, to the maturity of the entrepreneurs. Everything is actually connected, like you said, connecting the dots.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Very interesting information. Um, so I already asked, what are the common traits that you're seeing in the companies that are not being successful, but what are the conditions or traits that you see amongst the startups that are very successful in finding investors specifically, and go on, obviously, to be successful?
Well, like I said, we are funding both founders. So first of all, we are investing into humans, and I'll say that there's so many different traits of personality that can really pop out, and you say that okay, this guy is gonna make a great job because he's shining his energy around. He can really easily connect with the key people. He needs to bounce back because he's like facing an issue. That's not a trouble. He's also interested and smart in getting in touch with the right person at the right moment. I didn't mention that timing is key. At every step of the development of startups, it can be regarding the fundraising, it can be, getting in touch with a competitor. The timing is really key. And when you can evaluate that this person has this kind of aspect or this kind of intelligence, well, we already know that we can go a long way.
Okay. And in timing is key. What is the right time for people to ask for investment or to get investment?
That's a good question. Anytime. No, I'll say that, of course, don't go at any time. You need to be prepared. You really need to prepare because you always have just one chance to get a first good impression. I'll say that you need preparation to have a good pitch, to get a good understanding of the market, to be able to also. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Mattias. Sorry.
So yeah, so there is no good time, but the best time would be when you're well prepared, when you know your pitch, when you know your story, when you're not scared to actually get in front of a panel of business angels or, well, for example, our class is really ordinary. We're just selecting project. We are selecting projects, then we're inviting them to a selection committee in order to assess if there are strengths, if we can work with these entrepreneurs. And on the panel, we have more than 15 business angels always asking specifically a question based on a vertical or a special question directly related to their expertise. Mm-hmm. And so this is quite of a hard effort or hard, evaluation for them. But we directly know if they are strong enough that they can really directly answer the questions on the pertinent aspect of the points. And yeah, that means that they're well prepared, they know the market, they know where they're going to go and how they're going to allocate the funds as well. Mm-hmm. So this is basically all the questions that needs to be, thought beforehand.
Yeah. Okay, so people looking for funding, know your stuff. Mattias, welcome to the discussion.
Thank you very much.
You get caught up in traffic. I'm sorry to have to come into Leuven. But if we could just jump in, and I've done a short introduction about yourself, but if you can tell us a little bit more about Talk2C, what you do, for who.
No, that would be great. So my name is Mattias Losoli. I'm the founder of Talk2C. Talk2C started about 3 years ago with a mission that came out of one of the experiences I had, which is CEO for 1 month. CEO for 1 month is a competition that they do. I think there were approximately 3,000 applicants, and they select one person that during 1 month can become a CEO or see what it is like to be a CEO. And what I saw during my month was the fact that there's a lot of expertise, a lot of knowledge within the senior leaders, but most oftenly they don't have the time to share that with young professionals. So that was a pity. So what I did was there were a lot of friends around me asking me questions. Yeah, what are you learning? Which skills are you doing? Who are you talking to? I had even the opportunity to have meetings also with the king. So there's a lot of opportunities learning from that. But then there was, for me, some sort of big gap between what young professionals want to know and between what senior leaders often can share because they have a busy life. And that was a fundamental of Talk2C, which I started now 3 years ago together with Marnik, which was actually trying to get these insights from these senior leaders' minds into the young professionals' their minds. Around personal development, around all those things. So we started out using workshops as the first start of Talk2C. It was really nice to do, but we heard from all our the participants that they found it very nice to get into these workshops, but after the workshops it stopped. And they wanted this continuation, so that's where we, I think approximately now 2 years ago, we started with building a community, the personal development community for young professionals. Gathering all young professionals. Currently, I think we are about 150 members, and really trying to improve their personal growth, because I believe there's a lot of people with a lot of talent, but most often they need 1 or 2 insights to get them really on, and that's what we try to be able to pursue for them.
Cool, that sounds really interesting. And indeed, when I read that you had been with the CEO for a month, I was like, wow, I really wonder, what was the most valuable thing that you learned?
It was not bringing the coffee, that was not my job. But I think what surprised me the most was the fact that as a CEO, you have to switch a lot between different, how would I say it, personas, because one moment you have to be really strict and saying that that's not good, and other moments there's somebody maybe with some psychological questions, or in another moment you have to do really sales, and another moment you must be thinking about strategy. So all these personas are really switched very quickly. And that in the beginning for me was also quite difficult, because in the car, when you're driving, they are switching between personas, between the calls that they are doing in the car. So that was surprising. What I learned most of it is focus. There's a lot of things on their plate, you can imagine. How do they try to get focused, manage their time? I've seen things they did which allowed me also now in my startup to better know sometimes, even though it stays really difficult, what is the next step you should take.
Can you give a concrete example? I'm really curious.
Yeah. There are three methods which I use almost on a daily basis. The first one that I really saw was they're using, and I don't know if you know the method, it's the Pareto law. Which actually, very simple, says that 20% of your input gets you to 80% of the results, and that the other 80% only gets you 20%. What these people are doing is most often they're just focusing on the 20% to get the 80% result. Because you cannot do everything perfectly. And that's something I also learned in my startup. In the beginning, you want to do everything perfect. But then you will take a lot of time before you're getting a little bit traction. So now I'm the opposite. I will launch something even though I know it's not finished, just to see what's the reaction. So that's one of the first. The second part is really about managing your time. So blocking times in your agenda to be able to how they do it is like batching specific type of work through during 2 hours, really focusing on one specific task and not letting in every different task that should come, or people that enter the room, or so trying to stay focused on one task was also an element that I try to do, even though it's sometimes difficult. But put away your phone, your mails, really no distractions possible to allow you to stay focused. So those are little things, but at the end of the week and months and years can create a lot of extra results.
Okay, cool. Anything, Yanis, that you're doing to help you focus that you can share?
Great, great methods. I should maybe provide those intelligence to the startups that we fund. No, definitely, the Pareto law is something that we are really working on that, because as a startup, sometimes, like you mentioned, the 20% that will provide the best results are the most important to get a first feedback from the market. That's actually something that I tell to my entrepreneurs, is to actually try to really get directly to the market in order to get the feedback from the customer. Even if the work is not done, the MVP is not done, just try to sell. If somebody can actually buy for your solutions, you'll get some feedback and you can work on that. And don't waste your time on getting the perfect solution that won't even be used at some time, at some point. So yeah, it's great feedback.
Mattias, we've been talking a little bit about challenges amongst startups and entrepreneurs. So I'm curious to know, what has been your biggest challenge with Talk2C, or maybe the one that most people wouldn't expect?
I have two things, I think. The first one is, but it became our strength, but I will tell that later on. Talk2C was not a flat road. It was a lot of ups and downs, and also a lot of pivoting. So we started out with doing workshops. We even went apart in becoming maybe recruitment. And then we realized it was not really our mission and what we love to do. And there was also a lot of competition. So we re-pivoted towards more journeys of development. And from that on came the community. So the challenges was, at each point, there was a moment that you were thinking, okay, maybe we should stop here because there's no market. But I don't know why, because maybe it's our mission and we just are really eager to get that out. We always continued to look to the like you told, the feedback of the market. What are they telling us? What are the elements that we see are working? And that allowed us now for, let's say, the 2 years now to be in one line and in one way. But it's funny to see, because at our events, people are coming to us. Oh, 4 years ago, or 3 years and a half ago, when we met Talk to See first, you were doing a lot of other things. What are you doing now? And even for people, they are doing the whole wave with you. And that's sometimes challenging to, okay, now we just have one track, we just pursue on that one, and we keep that one. That's maybe one of the main challenges, because you will see a lot of opportunities and you can go in each direction, but at the end, you're maybe betting on too much horses than the one that really gets the value out of it.
Okay, lovely. I'm definitely hearing from both of you, listen to the market and what it's telling you. So that's really good advice. Mattias, we've also been talking, because Yanis is experienced on the investment side of things. So I was wondering, how have you funded your startup? How's your experience been with that?
Yeah. We chose to bootstrap because 2 reasons. First of all, we didn't have a lot of money, the founders, so then you have to look other ways. And secondly, we've always been in the pursuit of, we want to get the traction from the market, from the clients, and we believe that if we do it well, investors, clients will come to us. That's maybe some bold statement, but I'm now doing Talk to See 3 years and a half, and because we are now really doing good what we are doing, companies, people are connecting to us. So it's the other way around, and I believe if an investor contacts us, it's a no other story than if you should contact them. So that's why we chose that path. But of course, then it means that you have to look at your costs a lot. So maybe that's something personal, but I love to find everything the cheapest possible, but still in a good way that it gives quality. So that's something I always do. So I take that in the startup, and that's really necessary, because I had a friend which also had a startup, but he didn't have that focus on costs and was making, for me, I think, a lot of costs. And then if you're bootstrapping, it's getting really quickly towards a point that you should stop, and that we didn't really have.
Do you have some Dutch roots?
You mean dead roots, as if
finding the cheapest thing? I'm half Dutch, and I'm exactly the same. No, can you clarify maybe bootstrapping for those listening that don't know what it is?
Yeah, I think bootstrapping is about trying with your own funding, which is most often for us, it was a couple of $1,000s, trying to be able to find a product which doesn't cost you a lot to make or to build, which is one of the ways you're doing it is by building an MVP, which is really simple, which doesn't cost a lot. And for us, bootstrapping also means that your fixed costs are really low and that you have a lot of variable costs, because variable costs are not so, it's not a problem, because it means that you're making more money, because the more money you make, the more variable costs, but that's not a problem. So our fixed costs are really low, and the variable, that's our business model. So we thought about it, how to implement that.
Okay, cool. And for those wondering, MVP is a minimal viable product. Have you, Matt, now 3 years in, you said, with Talk to See, more or less? Have you managed to generate a steady income now for the company?
What I would say is steady, yes. If I look at the beginnings of Talk to See, is it the point that we want to be? No, there is still room for improvement. But today I can say that Talk to See generates value and money, which allows us to really grow. And that's the most important part. We can now organize events. We will have an event next week with 150 people. that's also a lot of costs that you're making, but we can afford us that in this stage, which, you try to use that to generate even more and more. And so I would say we have now a strong basis on which we can, lean back, to say it like that.
Okay. And what has helped you most to get to where you are now? A specific resource, person?
Um, I think that I've thought about this question. Um, I think at the end it's perseverance, and maybe that's a little bit fluffy, but I don't think it's fluffy. Our team are all people with a lot of perseverance, and again, we could have stopped really at multiple points, and maybe we were this close of getting this traction, because for the community came, it was tough. But then when we had the idea of community, everything is starting to get further. So it's really perseverance and not stopping. And I think the reason why we didn't stop is just because it's a mission of us all to make people become a better version of themselves. And then you're just like, okay, if it doesn't succeed that way, we try another way, and we try till we find a way in which we can succeed. So that's, I think, the the reason why. And of course, you have a lot of people you're talking to help you out. But without the perseverance, I'm sure we would have stopped.
Yeah, I think that sits quite nicely next to the characteristics that you mentioned, Yanis, for good entrepreneurs.
Yeah, exactly. I'm completely aligned with you. With the business angels, we are really striving to work on and collaboration that needs to be the most healthy possible. And at some point, the perseverance, the resilience are values that we are really keen to have in the team, in the management team. Of course, because we have a board and a few business angels are on board, they can help on discussion. They can help out on this. But I have few examples of few entrepreneurs that really have been close to the bankruptcy, and they were like, "No, we won't give up." And today, thank God they've made it. But it's really based on the self-discipline, the perseverance, and of course when we can see those entrepreneurs working a lot towards their objectives, it's mandatory for us to help. And this is what BeAngels is striving to do, is to give backup and support to those entrepreneurs. There are so many different types of entrepreneurs as well. Some are, lean backing on the money that they have and the capital, and they are not exploiting the resource in a good way. And some are completely the other way around. They don't have a lot and they are making huge efforts, and it's really nice to see those efforts paying off at some point.
Yeah. Cool. Mattias, I'm also curious, where did the spirit of the entrepreneurship come from? Where did you get the idea, like, okay, well, actually, I'm going to do something of my own? Because you had that experience with the month of working with a CEO. Well, how come you moved away from, well, actually, I'm going to work in a business for somebody else, to I'm going to do my own thing?
Before Talk2C, I had a little project. I don't know if you can even call it a startup, but for me it was a startup. It was called Filia, which was here also located in Leuven. I thought of the idea of, we have a lot of students in Leuven and we have a lot of seniors in Leuven. Why can't they help each other? There's a lot of seniors which cannot go to the supermarket, which don't know how to use their laptops. And there's a lot of students which do maybe not a lot, so they can maybe do something. So I created a little platform which connected both. And so we had, I think, 10 to 15 matches, so students helping seniors out. And that was the beginning. And why did I started that? I really don't know. The only thing I know is that one afternoon I came home and I had really this feeling of, I want to do something on my own. But I don't know what was the trigger that day to do that. But I came home and I had that idea and I started brainstorming, and then the idea of Filia came out, and I just started to do and contacting people, and they're like, oh, who are you? And then just doing the things, and from that you learn. Yeah.
Cool. And do you have any entrepreneurs at home or in your surroundings that your network?
No, not really. Not really. It's really a new world that opened, to be honest. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, cool. Um, the topic of network building again further. I just mentioned it a little bit. Mattias, how have you built your network around you? Have you found the right people to help you and talk to see?
Um, so how did I build up my network? I think that's maybe, and that's not to have a big, I don't know how to say it in English, but een dikke nek. But what people tell me is the fact that I have a bold vision and mission. And what helped me to get people alongside with me is just explaining the vision I have, which is really clear for Talk to See, is helping as much people to become a better version of themselves. And by showing that you really care about that mission, people tend to say, oh, but that's cool. I also want to be part of that story. So Marnik, I know him also from the competition of CEO for 1 month. I just explained him this idea. Darlene, which is also in our team, I just contacted her, explained again the vision and the mission, and she said, okay, I want to be part of that story. And now what we are seeing with our community, there are people within our community that want to become an ambassador of our community without any involvement of us, but just because they want to be part of this story. And I think that's what I've seen works best for us. Um, Companies as well, I don't see them as clients, but it's helping companies also make their employees a better version of themselves. So they're all in this same kind of vision and mission, which I think helps people to better know, okay, should we connect with Mattias and Talk to See or not? That allowed us to, bring up the network. And now, that's I think our biggest strength is our community. There's a lot of people doing things for us which we didn't ask for. I think 2-3 months ago, we even had the moment that we came on television out of somebody in the community which said, oh, I had a great opportunity for you. So, there are coming opportunities just because people are enjoying what you're doing and they get the value out of it. But it's really about first providing value, and then people will give you value back. If you try to get value out of it first, it won't work.
Okay, nice. And Yanis, from your perspective, is there something that you look for in startups in concerning the network around them, or if you see something that's missing, then do you help them build out their network?
Well, that's a good question, actually. So we are one of the largest business angels network in Belgium. It's more than 470 people, and that means that each month they have the chance to see to watch 5 pitches, and they can have the lead on that. I want to invest in it, so I'll be the lead investors, and I want to help those entrepreneurs. And as Matthias has said, communication is key because it's really a matchmaking that's made, and in a way they invest their own money, but they invest also other intangible resources, their network, their expertise. So a lot is going in, and they are really getting on board on the boat for at least 5 years. So that means by that they want to invest their time, their money, of course, because they're investors, but they're not, of course, profitability is something in their mind because they won't be investors if it's the case. But they invest their time, their money, but they really want to make that story a success. And that's how we are working that out, by actually making the matchmaking between entrepreneurs and investors, and always based on human. That means that it really needs to work out at some point, and everybody needs to be aligned, because at some point, if something is hidden or there's some shadow on the topic, well, at some point you'll find some dead bodies in the closet, and you really don't want that. It's a way of speaking, of course. But that's how we work and how we try to make it work.
Okay, cool. Matthias, I also think a lot of the audience are people with ideas, but they don't know how to make those very first steps. They might be still working or still studying. They're not sure how to combine it. and also when to say, okay, well, I'm going to go full in. It's always a question of staying maybe in a job to have some income, but then not being as focused, as you said, having focus on the startup. What would you say to them? What would your advice be?
I think, and I realize it today, that your student period is actually the best period you have to experiment, if you like to experiment, of course, because you don't have any responsibilities, you have time, there is a great way of the student zelfstandige statute which you can take. So there's actually nothing that could go wrong. Of course, people have this thinking of, oh, but what if I launch an idea and it's not the best idea? But that's not what you should do in your student time. It's the first, like I did with Filia, it's just trying out and you're learning so much. Secondly is it's not always about having the best idea, but it's the person which does it takes action to get that idea along. Because that often I see also, I will not say my idea to somebody else, but there's a big difference between the idea and doing it. That's a huge gap. And I think what I would suggest is just try to get from this idea towards getting action, trying things, and even if you fail, it's not failure, it's learning, and you will have a lot of more knowledge about getting on in this startup world than other people.
Okay, lovely. So makes a link to something I saw yesterday. There's just name a goal, any goal for the next year, and 3 steps that you can do to achieve it, and do those. So
maybe if I can add, because I don't know if everybody knows it, but I combine Talk to See with a job. So I do both. So most often people say, how are you doing both? So that's why I told focus and time management are my really strong skills that I've had to develop. And that way, for me, it was a way of, okay, I'm getting a lot of experience from my normal job and I'm learning from Talk to See. And we are now growing on both ways. And then you can take a choice whenever you want. But for me, it's about this focus is needed, but also you can achieve a lot even as a student with, I would say, 4 hours a week, 6 hours a week. You can already do a lot.
yeah,
If I can add maybe
yeah.
something, you were mentioning that as a student you have a lot of time, and I think that the mindset is shifting. I mean, like 10 years ago, there were so less student entrepreneurs, and there were not as much as entrepreneurship initiatives. We have so many backup and support from the ecosystem. So if you're listening to us, just jump on it, jump on those opportunities, because at the end of your studies, you really want to have the comfort of having a job, having the car, having the consultancy, job, and everybody's like going straight to that point. But if you take a little bit of time and you focus on your project, don't be scared to actually share it to others. You'll get some great feedbacks. As Mattias said, so many people have the same idea at the same time. But there's such a huge difference between the people making it and the people thinking about it. And when you think about it, sometimes you look back up on structure or acceleration programs such as GIG and so on. So everything is moving a little bit towards this objective. So I'll say to the next generation of students, just go for it.
Okay, good advice. And Matthias, I heard you say my normal job. Let's not say that. Let's say the job I'm hired for, or in company, or Yanis, what's something that has surprised you most in your experience? I was wondering, is there anything that you're surprised about? Perhaps an investment you thought, I wasn't expecting that, or an idea, or a company, or...
That's a really great question, but I have to say I'm kind of surprised every day. I really like my job, and there are so many different surprises coming from the investors, coming from the fact that we're prospecting other ecosystem, the fact that BeAngels is growing as an international actor. So there are so many new challenges, so many new specific point, and so many new, I don't know, new stories, new meetings as well. And that's just how we take it, surprise after surprises. But yeah, on the related to business, I'll say that I've been surprised recently by the perseverance of two entrepreneurs. They went really on the worst, I mean, they had the worst scenario ever. I mean, they created their startup, they get a straight loan from the bank, they get a huge debt, then they started the company, COVID came like 2 weeks after, and now they're really struggling back, and their efforts is really paying off, and that's one of the best surprises to see that how long they've been after this company, how hard they struggled for it, and today they are opening like 150 shops around the country, and I can just say bravo to them. So I'm really positively surprised by their efforts.
Okay. Yeah, good. Okay, so perseverance and listen to the market. That's what we're going to take away from this. I'm going to turn to the audience and see if there's any questions here or online. I have first of all here in the live audience, any questions? Yes, we've got one. So the question is for those listening online, whether I've forgotten the name of the app. Philia, if Philia still exists.
Philia still exists. Throughout the story of Philia, there was a point I met Brian, which started Odelia. So we started Odelia then together. To be honest, I don't know if Odelia still exists today. I would have to look up the website. But we, at a specific point in time, we just decided to go other ways. It was also the moment where I had my CEO for 1 month. So it was a great way of, I had this experience and now let's move on. But I don't know if Odelia still exists. You can look it up. I would have to look it up, and I will do it tonight to see if it still exists.
All right. Any other questions from the audience here? I've had a quick look online, but there's nothing. Yeah. So I'm just going to repeat for the people following online because they can't hear it otherwise. So what idea makes it worth, or what are the criteria to know that it's valuable to go further with it? Yeah. Yanis.
Yeah, this is a great question. So, like I said, we're investing into projects where the first focus is the human. So, if you're bold and if you want to invest your time on full-time basis in the project, that's something we are looking for. Then there are other criteria, such as the market, such as the product. Is your product competitive? Is the market it's a strategy, go-to-market strategy is fine-tuned. Are you a solo entrepreneur? Are you working as a team? So there's such different criteria that we are looking, and the feedback that I will give to you is like, don't be shy and try to maybe connect with the different peers that are evolving on the same market to get a few feedbacks from the people who are actually active in the same market or active or building the same product, or try to connect with people that will actually bring your game way higher. And then do not hesitate to get into an acceleration program, try to get into an incubator, or if you rather work your project alone, like in the garage or something like that, you can work it out. But always ask for feedbacks or second opinions. Try to really confront the market. And that will be the key factors. First of all, the human, then the market, then the product, and after that we can deep dive into the questions and deep dive into the different specifications, but I guess we can talk about it. Sure.
Any other questions? No? Yes, one more. So what to do for somebody that has an idea but really doesn't know where to start? Either of you?
Well, if you have the idea, that's of course a good start. First of all, that's a good start, but you need to maybe go to a place where there is a Fab Lab, or you need coaching, you need mentorship, you need to get some feedbacks. You cannot work alone. I'm really not a believer of the Yellow standards. I guess that there are crazy geniuses that are doing that, but at some point they need to change their expectations and so on. So there are so many different actors on the market, such as incubators, acceleration programs, different coach in entrepreneurship. Don't hesitate to ask other entrepreneurs. It's actually one of the first solutions. The easiest way is to actually go randomly. Don't be scared. Oh, hi, I don't know what you're doing, but I know that you're an entrepreneur. Can I just submit my idea to your thoughts? And from that, you'll try to build up step by step, I guess.
Yeah, if I can add on that, I think it's what Yanis says. And maybe in the beginning you don't need to have everything clear. I think that's maybe the most important thing. People think that the whole path should be clear of first that, then that. I've not met that entrepreneur which has whole his path so straightforward. So at a specific point in time, it's about just what seems like a logical step, talk with entrepreneurs, with people who have done it, and then start with that step. And from that step, you will maybe think of, oh, now this is my second step. And from there on, you can just continue.
Cool. Okay, well, mindful of time, I want to thank everybody that joined live and online, our speakers. Thank you to both of you for coming down to Leuven. Thank you, Studio Start, for the location. We are in full swing off the back of Startup Warm-Up, now getting everything ready for the Belgian Innovation Awards here in Leuven on December 1st. And it's in Sportsoase. Keep an eye on our website and social channels for more information and tickets. And we'll be back on November the 8th for another episode of Startup Stories. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.